Welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. I'm your host, Lydia, an Auckland wedding photographer at Lydia Rachel Photography. I'm so excited to share this week's conversation with Georgie, who takes us through her beautiful love story and wedding day. Georgie opens up about everything from meeting her husband on a dance floor, navigating heartbreak, and finding their way back to each other, planning the colourful wedding she always dreamed of, and even keeping a very special secret throughout the entire day, one that they revealed to all their guests during the reception. We also chat about losing a parent before your wedding, the reality of wedding budgets, why investing in great vendors makes such a difference, dress regret, which I know many brides will relate to, and so much more. Before we jump in, I also have a little announcement I'm really excited about. I've officially launched the Kiwi Wedding Podcast community. It's a private Facebook group and I would love for you to come and join us. It's a space I've wanted to create for a long time, a supportive community where engaged couples and wedding vendors can connect, ask questions, share advice, celebrate wins, and have honest conversations about weddings here in New Zealand. Whether you're currently planning your wedding, recently got married and want to share your experience, or you're a wedding professional who loves helping couples, I'd absolutely love to have you there. You can join via the link in today's show notes, and I can't wait to see you inside. All right, let's get into today's chat. Enjoy episode 151 with Georgie. Hi, Georgie. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. So excited to chat all about your story and special day.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat to you. I love your podcast. I've listened to every episode possible for my wedding, so it's exciting to be on the other side of it.
Love that. So yeah, as you know, start kind of back at the beginning, and you shared a little bit of your story when you wrote to me. So whatever you're comfortable sharing, if you could tell us a little bit about how you guys met and your life together.
Yeah, absolutely. So I met Ben back in 2017, just classic, like in the club, on a night out one night. I was at work. I was actually working late. I work in the hospital, so I was working till 11 and I wasn't planning on going out, but my friends were like, you must come out. I'd just come out of sort of a bit of a turbulent relationship, so I ended up getting ready at work, doing my makeup, ran to my friend's house, sculled a bottle of wine, as you do back then, and went into town, and then ran into Ben on the dance floor. He'd also never really had a girlfriend, so neither of us were looking for anything serious. We didn't even exchange numbers, didn't know social media or anything. And that was, just whatever. And then happened the next weekend we both happened to be in Queenstown, and I was just in one of the bars there, and I looked over and there was Ben. And I don't know if it's coincidence or fate or whatever, but that time we exchanged numbers, and we just started hanging out, went on a few dates. When you say I knew he was pretty special from the beginning, but we were young. Like, he was only 21 when I met him. I was 23, so I'm a bit of a cougar, but I knew he was pretty special from the get-go. And we had Ben and I have had a bit of a very up and down start to our relationship. As I mentioned to you, less than a year after we got together, my dad got really sick, and he was diagnosed with a brain tumor. So that was a lot for a new boyfriend, a 21-year-old boyfriend, to take on at the time. It was 7 months between when he got diagnosed and when he passed away. So it was a very turbulent, crazy time. And Ben, he just stood he really stepped up. He was my rock. He held my hand through all of it. That was when, I knew when I met him he was special, but going through that, to go through like that with someone, you've just sort of met, I knew he was the one then. He was I couldn't have got through that time without him. So that was a bit of a rocky start. And then about a year after that, I was like, right, I need to go do some travel. I always wanted to do an OE, so it was time for me. It had been a year, and I'm ready. I'm going to go to London, and this was 2020, so we all know what happens in 2020. I moved over in March, and Ben was going to come over a few months later, but 3 weeks after I arrived, the whole world went into lockdown. So that
Mm,
was a very crazy time. Yeah, I work in healthcare, so I had a job. I didn't lose my job, so I decided to stay, but obviously it meant that Ben couldn't come over. So it was really hard. Distance didn't work for us. I don't know, maybe because of the circumstances and being so far away from home and it being terrifying. So we actually ended up breaking up, which at the time was the right thing to do. It sucked.
yeah.
We didn't stop talking. We kept in contact. Like he was essentially the love of my life, and I didn't want him not in my life. So we kept in contact. And I remember London was going back into lockdown at the end of 2020, but New Zealand wasn't. New Zealand had obviously sort of dealt with it the right way. And I couldn't, the thought of going back into another lockdown on the other side of the world with my job, I was like, no, bugger this. I'm coming home. Sort of thinking I'd come home to get back with Ben, but came home and he had another girlfriend.
Oh.
So that was a lovely surprise. I think I knew deep down that maybe that was the case, but anyways, a year later, we ran into each other at a friend's drinks, or ran into, I think I knew he was going to be there. And yeah, the rest is history. We've been together ever since. So it was a very up and down start. And it probably feels weird it's weird to say, but us breaking up and getting back together was probably the best thing that ever happened to us. We got to both grow up a little bit. I got to live out my dreams, see other people. I don't know, it's a bit of a funny one, but yeah, we ultimately ended up back together and have been inseparable ever since. So yeah, that is how we met. It's a bit of a funny story, but yeah, if there's anyone out here who's sort of in the pits of despair with their relationship, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so just like right timing and
Yeah.
yeah, for him to be with you, like walking you through such a
Yeah.
awful season, and
Absolutely.
then definitely would have been gutted coming home to the new girlfriend. But yeah, all was like the right timing in the end, I
Exactly. It
guess.
was right
Yeah.
person, wrong time, and we ended up back together. So, yeah,
I love
yeah.
that. It does happen. That's so cool. So came back together, right timing, and then yeah, you dated for a while, got engaged. Can you tell us a bit about the proposal?
When we got back together, we sort of kept it like a secret from everyone because we were like, if we're going to get back together, this has got to be it. So it was about a year after we sort of officially got back together. We went away for the weekend, and it was just a very cute sort of proposal story. His family have a holiday house in Twizel, so we were going up for the weekend, and we'd actually got a puppy not long after we got back together. So I guess that's a very good test of whether or not.
Yeah.
So Ben said, should we go to Tekapo and we'll go out for lunch and we'll take the dog to the lake? And all I remember, it was so cold. It was freezing. It was foggy. You couldn't even see like 10 meters in front of you. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, I love this dog, whatever, we'll take it to the lake. And it was freezing and I couldn't feel my hands. And I was like, right, we've got to go. We're going to go have lunch now. This is miserable. And I turn around, start walking away. And I sort of hear him mumble something like, but I need to ask you something first. And as I turn around, he's down on one knee with this big, beautiful ring. And I don't really remember anything after that. I just screamed at the top of my lungs and jumped around. And yeah, it was just the coolest moment ever, like up to that stage of my life, the best day of my life. So yeah, very intimate and just us and the dog. And yeah, we had some drinks to celebrate and rang our friends and family. And yeah, it was just so cool. It's such a special time getting engaged.
Oh, so sweet. Love that.
Yeah.
Had you been one of those girls that dreamed about your wedding? Did you have a bit of a vision in mind? And
Oh,
yeah, can you
yes.
tell us about those first steps, planning, finding a venue? Yeah.
So the venue I knew before I even met Ben where I was going to get married, so that was easy for me. And literally in the car after we proposed, I was like, "Can I email the venue?" And he was like, "Yeah, whatever." So my family, since we were little, for as long as I can remember, we've been camping in Wānaka at this place called Glendhu Bay, and literally across the road is a old woolshed that's been converted into a beautiful wedding venue called Glendhu Station. So I grew up on a farm. To me, it made perfect sense. It was a very special place to me, and it sort of went back to my farming roots, the whole woolshed vibe. So yeah, I emailed Glendhu Station straight away, got the info pack, and pretty much they released their dates not long after that, and we locked in our weekend. So that was all very easy. I guess choosing that venue sort of also helped sort of influence the vibe of the wedding a little bit, because Glendhu includes like your seating, your tables, your umbrellas. You've got your ceremony there. You have your reception in the wool shed, and you have your canopy hour outside. And so it has a very, I guess, rustic, kind of theme. So that sort of meant that, like, that part of the wedding, you know, was sort of decided already. I didn't have to worry too much about like decor and that sort of thing. I did know that I really wanted to have colour. That was important to me. We had a few weddings the year before, and it was sort of around the time with the black and white, the very chic, black suits, white flowers. That was all very in, but that isn't me at all. I love like pops of colour. The colour that I definitely leaned towards ended up being pink. So we had a very pink wedding, much to Ben's dismay. But I think in the end it all looked beautiful. The pinks and the pastels and the oranges, and amongst the wedding, sorry, the wool shed, it looked gorgeous. Like, I was so happy with how it turned out. I'm definitely not a fairy princess girly girl, but I wanted to be on my wedding. So
Love
yeah,
that.
I had the big fairy princess dress. I had the pink flowers. So yeah, no, I definitely had a vibe that I had in my mind. So
That's so
yeah.
good. Love
Yeah.
that. And did you guys have sort of your top priorities? What were the most important elements of the day for you?
Yeah, for sure. Food definitely was important. I am from a farm down in Gore, so southern farmers, food. And again, we'd been to a few weddings. You do remember the food. It's like the food is so important. So food for me, alcohol, because we love to party. We're southern.
Mm.
Ben's from Dunedin. I'm from Gore, southern couple. Our friends love to party, and it was food, the party, and yeah, I guess alcohol as well. So the band was really important. I wanted to be able to party into the night. So those were the three most important things. And then yeah, everything else sort of followed after that.
Very important ones, but yeah, I love that. Can you tell us a bit about your dress, your shopping experience? Did you go to a few places?
Yeah, so I had a vibe in my head. I wanted the big, like I said, the big princess dress. I wanted the lace, the glitter, everything you could have probably on a dress, which is very unlike me. I think if anyone thought what I was going to wear, it wouldn't be that. And I found a brand online that I fell in love with, and then I found out the cost, and it was way out of my price range. So I sort of had to go back to the drawing board a bit there. And I actually think I was listening to your podcast, and you had talked to someone, and I really loved their dress, and I clicked on the tag, and it was a place in Sydney called Blanche Bridal. And so they had essentially the same kind of dresses, but a much more sort of affordable option for me. And I was going to Sydney anyway in a couple of months for work for a conference. And so I said to my mum, "Do you want to come and we'll go and try on some wedding dresses?" So yeah, we went over there and we booked in a few places. And I mean, we tried on some gorgeous dresses here in Dunedin and in Invercargill, but the scope of dresses in Sydney was just next level. And yeah, we went to Blanche Bridal, and I tried on my dress, and I got the fluffy feelings and the goosebumps and the tears and everything. So yeah, found a dress. I will say though, I definitely, like, literally a week after locking this dress in, I 100% had dress regret. Like, I think social media, you just, once you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and it's wedding thing after wedding thing. The fashion sort of changed not long after I had sort of lock your dress in so far out from your wedding as well. And I started panicking, and I was like, "Oh my God, I've picked the wrong dress." And I was like, I ended up literally looking on the secondhand wedding dress websites to try and find something else, because I was like, what if no one likes my dress? What if it's out of fashion? What if Ben doesn't like it? And I had to really just try and like remember the feeling that I had when I tried it on and like parked that. And sure enough, when we went to pick it up, like a year later, I had the same feeling and I fell in love with it all over again. And I felt like a princess on the day. But yeah, I think social media is amazing for so many things, but in other ways, for that, I remember because no one sees it either. That's the other thing. You can't really show people to get their opinion. Like I hadn't even showed my bridesmaids. I loved it. It was amazing, and they were great to deal with. And we flew back. We made an excuse to fly back to Sydney to get the final fitting and try it on. So yeah, I just had the one dress. I would have loved to have like a cute little floaty show my legs off second dress, but no, that wasn't for me. I spent a lot of money on that dress and I wanted to wear it for the whole time. I sort of did have a second look because I had it added removable sleeves. So I wore the sleeves for the ceremony and the photos. And then as I came into the reception, I took them off. So it was sort of like a second strapless dress for the sunset photos and the dance. So kind of had two looks, but not, yeah.
I think, yeah, I think a lot of people will relate to you on that dress regret thing, and
Yeah.
you just kind of start like doubting your decision because of all this time's gone by, and even like looking at, you might have taken like videos on your phone or whatever, but you're not fully like done up as a bride as you're going to look
Yes,
on the
yeah,
day, and you're
exactly.
like, do
Yeah.
I actually look good in that? But yeah, you have to like trust that.
But that was probably the most stressful time for me. It was like, "Oh my god, my dress," but on the day, it was yeah, you just have to remember that you loved it for a reason, I guess, and that you had that feeling, and I knew it was right deep down, but yeah, such a thing.
Yeah, totally. And you had a bridal party as well. How did you go with choosing them? Was that easy for you?
Yes, it was. I had so we both had 4 bridesmaids. My sister was one of them. She was always definitely going to be one. And then I had 3 best friends from different walks of life. So I had my best friend from high school, my best friend from work, and then a best friend that I met later in life. So yeah, it was pretty easy. Ben could have had about 10 groomsmen if he wanted. And I mean, if I could have everyone, I would have loved to have everyone. But when it came to it, it was my three girls that I talked to every day. When something exciting happened, that was who I wanted to talk to about it. And so yeah, it was good. It was fun, and I wanted them the morning of, and yeah, they made it so special for me. So I was lucky for that.
How about your guest list? How many did you end up having? How'd you go with that?
We're pretty lucky with the guest list. The venue sort of recommended about 120, just to fit comfortably. They said if you wanted to, you could probably push 130, but we used the 120 as sort of like that's our cutoff. Both of us have big families, so that was probably over half of the guest list, like straight away. But yeah, we sort of went through again. If you could invite everyone, of course you would, but we invited 120, I think 118 RSVP'd that they were going to come. So we were pretty lucky in that way. And then I think on the day, 116 showed up, but we didn't really have any drama or have any sort of issues. We made the call, and then that was that. We sort of just parked it, and yeah, pretty lucky really. And that side of it, because I know a lot of people find it really stressful.
Yeah, totally. Can you, yeah, walk us through a bit of the big day, maybe some of the lead up to it, how everything went, and yeah, any highlights, favorite moments?
I loved the whole lead up to the wedding. I think in another life I would love to be a wedding planner. I would love to go live up in Central Otago and just plan these beautiful weddings. We had amazing vendors. They literally, without like because of them, I think is why our day was so perfect. The caterers, we ended up having a wedding coordinator, the venue guy. We had a videographer who actually came over from Australia of all places. I really wanted to have a video, and he was doing a special deal. He wanted to come over for a holiday. So between all of them, the day just ran so smoothly. We had beautiful weather, so I know I was so grateful for that. It was 28 degrees. It was the end of March, so it was hot, but not too hot. There was still a cool breeze to make it bearable. I remember walking down the aisle dripping with sweat though, probably because I was nervous. But yeah, the day, honestly, like still to this day, best day of my life. Probably all of those things helped contribute to that. But yeah, we had the ceremony. I walked down the aisle to my beautiful husband who was crying, and that all went well. And then went away for photos, came back. Oh, no, we had the canopy hour. It was important for us to have the canopy hour first. I wanted to spend some time, and then we just went not too far away for photos and got some gorgeous photos, and then came back to do the dance into the reception. And my favorite part of the day, probably, so Ben and I found out we were pregnant 4 months before the wedding, which was a very big shock, a very big surprise. Don't know if I would recommend getting pregnant that far out from your wedding. Hindsight, best thing ever, but at the time, very stressful. I had flown to Sydney for my final fitting of the wedding dress, and then 2 weeks later found out that I was pregnant. So I was Googling, I was 19 weeks pregnant at the wedding, and I remember Googling the size of 19-week bumps because I was like, how the heck am I going to fit into my dress? And some bumps are this big, some bumps are this big. And thank God I wanted a big fairy princess dress because it meant that I could hide my little bump under there. So, yeah, we announced at our wedding to everyone that we were having a baby. So, that definitely, apart from walking down the aisle to Ben and marrying my best friend, was the highlight of the day for me because it was finally out in the open and I could finally just relax and show my bump off to everyone. And we have a very cool video of that. So that was something that was very special and very personal to us. And then we also had Nosy Parker had come and they did a little bit of content creation for us, and she created a beautiful video that we were able to post on social media and share with the rest of our friends that weren't at the wedding. So that was something that was pretty cool, but it was great in the end. But at the time, I don't know, probably something I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing
Yeah.
before your wedding. But yeah, it was, yeah, it was very special. And yeah, I had the dinner, the speeches. Speeches were all amazing. And then the band was incredible. It just, I cannot fault anything. And I know I'm very grateful to be able to say that. And the weather probably played a massive part in that. I didn't have that stress of, like, as the week was leading up to it, the day was just getting better and better. And so I never had any of that. I didn't have to worry about the backup option or anything. And I think that does make a big difference. No matter how much you say you can't change the weather, of course, you're going to be stressed about it if we live
Totally.
in New Zealand. So, yeah, but yeah, that was the day. And yeah, that part I will remember for the rest of my life has been just telling everyone he held up like a little baby bodysuit, and
Aw.
it was the coolest thing ever. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
such a cool way to do it. Quite like a long time for you to wait before telling a
Yeah.
lot of people as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Yeah, were you kind of sick in that first trimester as
I
well? Or,
definitely was
yeah.
probably a lot sicker than I was letting on. I was pretending to be fine. I was, because no one knew, and you sort of, when you think back, you're like, God, actually, I was pretty miserable. And
Mm.
I did feel pretty, I would probably liken to it like a bit of a hangover just all the time. It was funny, as soon as I told everyone, they were like, oh, I knew it, or like, that makes so much sense, as of course they always do. But I was halfway through. So yeah, I was pretty proud of myself. I'm very, I tell everyone everything, so it was pretty good. Pretty proud of myself to keep a secret for so long.
Yeah, and you obviously couldn't drink at your own wedding then, so
No,
yeah.
yes, which I know I remember everyone saying, because again, we love to have a drink, we love to party, and in hindsight, it probably was like I wouldn't say a blessing because it was like not like I would have ever got blackout drunk, but I was sober and I got to enjoy every single second of the day. I remember it. I just like relished in it, and Ben made up for it and drank for the both of us. So there was definitely still a lot of alcohol drunk, but no. And I was there. I was the last one on the dance floor. It was just the high of the wedding. I didn't need actually alcohol to have fun. But yeah, people were just like, "Oh my God, how are you going to get married without having a drink?" And it's yeah, you don't need to drink to have fun, apparently.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like more clear and present on the day, I guess.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, amazing. Sounds like such an incredible day. Is there any other little favorite moments or like personal elements you wanted to share there?
So, because we lost dad a few years earlier, it's funny, you plan a wedding and obviously your dad doesn't isn't really, I can't imagine dads have much to do with the planning and stuff, but when you are planning a wedding and you don't have your dad, it is quite weird because everything sort of circles back to those special moments with your dad. Like, you meet your vendors and they don't know your story, so they sort of talk about your dad walking you down the aisle. So yeah, it is. You don't have your first look with your dad. You don't have your dad to walk you down the aisle or give you away, or your father of the bride speech. And it's hard in a funny way. It's weird, I guess. You never get over losing someone, but when you're celebrating such a big special day in your life like that, it does bring it all back a bit. He was obviously part of the wedding in so many ways. We talked about him in the vows and the speeches. He got brought up. We had special songs for him on the dance floor that we danced to. His favourite song is Simply the Best by Tina Turner.
Mm.
So we made sure that everyone was around for a big dance with that. But what we did do, my mum found this song, and before I walked down the aisle, we played. It's called "Give Me Away" by Riley Roth, and it's just a daughter singing about the dad giving her away to her new partner. So we played that just before I arrived, and I think for Ben, I think that's what set everyone off. It's a very, very cute song. So that was pretty special, and it just sort of let everyone, I guess, know, you know, of course he's not forgotten about. He would have been the life of the party, but that was another pretty special part of the day that we could do and contribute to Dad coming down the aisle and seeing Ben and just realizing that I'm about to marry my best friend. And yeah, that's what it's all about. That was, yeah, that and the announcement. Those are definitely the highlights for sure for me.
So tough to do that, yeah, without,
Yeah,
a parent. But yeah, it's special that you could kind of weave in those moments of the day, and
yeah,
obviously, yeah,
absolutely.
he's really there and remember him. Obviously a super hard part, but yeah, in terms of like wedding planning, what did you find the hardest part about that, or is there anything you look back on and regret or would have done a little differently?
Honestly, like I said before, I did love the wedding planning. I had such great vendors. I like Lucy and Cecile from Aspiring Catering, and then Sarah from Something Borrowed. She was our wedding coordinator. They just made it so easy for me. Like, I can't. There obviously was hard days where I was probably stressed. I am a perfectionist, and there were things that bothered me, but I had to remember only I knew about those things. Like, on the day, everything went so smoothly. Yeah, the lead up, I guess, getting pregnant was stressful. I can't honestly couldn't tell you really anything that I would have changed. I am, and yeah, so lucky that it was such a positive experience for me. Again, I think because I had such incredible vendors who just they live, breathe, eat, sleep weddings in Wānaka, and so they know what they're doing, and they just like give you direction, and they say, "You do this, you do this." Another, I had Esther from Floor Studios in Invercargill. She's the florist, and I just fell in love with her. She just made it so good. I just told her what I wanted, and I just let her. I trusted everything, and I truly, hand on heart, like, I'm not even exaggerating. Everything was just so perfect and amazing for us. And yeah, I don't know. I love organizing and stuff. And so did they. And I think we all just gelled so well together, and it all came together so perfectly. So yeah, I wouldn't change a thing really.
I think, yeah, it's super helpful when you choose good vendors and you can just trust them, collaborate together. Yeah, it makes your life a lot easier. So it's so
100%.
good.
Yeah.
Did you guys have a set wedding budget? If you're happy to talk about what that was, or how did you find that whole side of things?
I knew it was going to be expensive. Obviously, it's a wedding, and as soon as we were saying, like, people were like, "Well, you're going to get married," and we were like, "We're going to get married up in Wānaka," and you're like, "Oh gosh, you're going to have that Central Otago GST." So it was like, okay, well, we're probably going to be paying more than what the average person was. I had a few friends that have got married, and they'd given us ballpark figures. We did get help from our families. My mum and Ben's parents, they did help us, and if we didn't have help from them, we couldn't have had the wedding that we did. So again, very, very fortunate and grateful that we did have that help. I didn't really have a budget. I obviously knew I wanted to get married at Glendhu Station. So when we sent the email, we got the info package and we got the cost for that. And it was a bit like, oh, okay, that's a lot of money. But I could justify it because it was 2 days that we had at Glendhu, and that included everything, like, included the tables, the chairs, the benches, the umbrellas, the half of the lighting, so it sort of seemed justified. And when we talked to John at Glendhu Station, he said you need to lock in a caterer because they are the ones that book out really quick up here. And it was when we got the quote for the catering, I just about fell off my chair. It was like $26,000 or something. And I was like, oh my goodness. Between those two, we're already nearly at 40 grand. And that was when I was like, wow, this is going to really cost us. But yeah, I did stop paying attention, which is probably, I don't know, not a good
Fair
thing.
enough.
And
Yeah.
I would say around about 70 grand, probably more by the time you add in like bridal party outfits. Like Ben bought the suits for all the boys and I bought the bridesmaids dresses. One thing I will say about budget is just be mindful because you're spending so much money anyway. You're sort of like, what's another $500 here, or what's another $200 here, or I'm already spending so much money, I may as well pay another grand for that. But all of those little $100 add up to thousands. So that is something just to be mindful of. It is a lot of money. I find budget hard. I wish people were more transparent about it. But when you are transparent about it, you get judged
Yeah.
because you say what you're going to spend, and people are just like, "What is wrong with you? Let's like half a deposit for a house," you know. But I would do it all again. For me, it was worth every second, every cent. It was truly, truly the best day, and yeah, it is. I'm not embarrassed about it, but when you say it out loud, it's a phenomenal amount of money, and people are. We just live in a society now where people are going to judge. But God, if you have the means and you want to spend it because you won't regret it. Like when yes, you're going to have all your favorite people in a room together celebrating you
Exactly.
and your partner and your love. So yeah, that was I think around about that, but maybe more.
No, thank you so much for sharing. I'm always grateful when people do. And yeah, I think we need to like normalize talking about it a bit more. I've been having
Totally
some,
agree.
yeah, chats on my social media lately about that and people sort of anonymously sharing what they spent. And yeah, there's been like some judgy comments come through or
It's
like, I can't
yeah,
believe that. And it's like, well, maybe you wouldn't spend that, but if someone else is in the position to, or, and it's not even being extravagant, like feeding and giving alcohol
that's
to
it.
100+ people costs a lot. So yeah, I
That's
think
where the cost comes in.
totally. Yeah, and venue, big one as well. But yeah, you can have a really beautiful wedding for 15, 20 grand or
Oh,
100
100%.
plus.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I think just showing all sides of it. And yeah, I don't know if it's like a bit of a Kiwi thing, the kind of tall poppy sort of like, yeah, a bit of judgy energy. Yeah, also I kind of put it out there asking people who got help from their family, and that was like 80% of responses did, which is normal. Like if you're kind of our generation, then
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it's so normal. And it's like it can feel like a bit of an awkward thing to admit, but it's
Yeah, I don't
like
know, it's
really
funny.
common. Yeah.
Like, I guess, yeah, I agree, like, normalize sort of just, telling people that because,
Yeah.
again, we're very grateful that we had families that were able to help us, but I'm not ashamed of that, and, yeah, like I said, we couldn't have had the wedding. We would have still had a wedding, and it still would have been beautiful, but it probably wouldn't have been in Wānaka. But yeah, I agree. I'm so with you on that. If people ask, I'm very transparent, but I have definitely had people turn around and been like, "What? What the heck?" And so then you feel awkward and like you have to justify it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, yeah, it's not like we are ended up on the bones of our ass. We would never have spent that money if that's what would have happened. But yeah, no. So hopefully that can help someone anyway.
Totally. Yeah. I think, yeah. Don't be embarrassed. I don't know. It's hard to say though when you get that kind of
Yeah,
energy back.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
like you say, no regrets, and so rare to have all those people together at once. So yeah, just got to
What's the
focus on
saying? If
that.
you the only 2 times is at your wedding and at your funeral, and you're not gonna be at
Mm,
your funeral, so yeah,
exactly.
it was worth it
Yeah,
for us.
for sure. No, I love that. And did you guys go on honeymoon? Did you kind of stick around Wānaka for a bit? What did planning that look like?
We didn't actually go on a honeymoon, I think because of the baby and everything, we went away. We did go off grid. We went on a canopy camping just off in the middle of nowhere, so we had no power, no, sorry, service or Wi-Fi for 2 days, which was really lovely just to decompress after such a hectic couple of days. And Ben actually felt the baby kick for the first time while we
Oh,
were away, so that was quite special. And yeah, the year before we got married, we'd been on a big holiday to Europe for 8 weeks, and so we didn't neither of us had any leave, and that was sort of our pre-wedding honeymoon. So yeah, for us the honeymoon, it's sort of you know the rest of our life is a honeymoon.
yeah.
We had a lot to look forward to with the baby. We might do one in the future.
I think that's such a good idea to kind of go off grid and just be present with each other and kind of talking about all the memories from the day, just have that time together. Yeah.
It was cool too because we actually got some of the photos sent through while we were away, so we got to sit down and look through all of them before we sort of because everyone's waiting for you to post your wedding photo, and so you sort of draw it out in suspense and stuff. And so yeah, that was pretty cool too. I remember we went into the pub to get food, and we got Wi-Fi, and all our photos came through, and that was really cool to be able to look at them. So yeah.
Love that. Did you have any sort of helpful resources or things you used during planning in terms of like finding vendors or inspiration, stuff like that?
Your podcast for sure. Definitely. I listen to every single episode. I would like
Wow.
wait for every Tuesday for the podcast to drop. There was one girl you talked to probably way back when you started. I think her name was Leah, and she got married up north, and I just fell in love with her vibe. And that was when I
Yes,
sort of
that's
knew
such a
the
cool
vibe.
wedding.
Yeah, and I ended up actually using Paper Darling for our signage because that's who had done her wedding. And there was another couple of weddings I had screenshots of them from your podcast. But yeah, it was just nice listening to other Kiwi girls' experiences. And there was like obviously some down in central and some up north. But yeah, that was a massive help for me. Vendors, word of mouth down here because Wānaka's small. You sort of got to John from Glendhu, he recommended a lot of people. Esther had done the flowers at a friend's wedding, and so I knew that I loved her vibe and I wanted her. I met her at that wedding, and it was very cool. And then obviously Instagram, Pinterest, those two. Once you start scrolling, everything wedding pops up and pops up, which is obviously really great. But like I said before, can be bad because
Yeah,
once you've locked in a decision, even with the color, I knew I wanted colorful flowers. But even after I locked in these colorful flowers, I was like, oh my God, should I just be having white flowers? Have I made the wrong decision? Because everyone was having white flowers. But no, yeah, you trust your gut. There's a reason why you want what you want. And yeah, it reflects on who you are as a person and who you are as a couple. So yeah, that'd be one piece of advice is trust your initial instinct, I guess. So yeah.
totally. So hard not to let that kind of comparison piece come through. And then, yeah, your whole algorithm does just change and keep serving you stuff. So I don't know if you can have some boundaries or try and change
Yeah,
that once
yeah.
you've made decisions. Yeah.
I think once I did start locking everything and I actually just unfollowed all wedding accounts because I was like, I've made my decisions. There's nothing I can do about it now. So that was something. And I started scrolling on baby things.
Nice. Yeah, you're overlapping into the next
Yeah,
season. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, so good. Yeah, you've given some amazing advice throughout already. But is there, yeah, anything else you would say to a couple planning their wedding at the moment?
If you can afford it, definitely get a wedding coordinator. It was the best money that we spent. She was incredible. But again, like I keep saying, our vendors were insane. I didn't think about anything throughout the day. Like literally, it just all went on behind the scenes. If anything went wrong, I still don't even know. If you can spend time making sure you do have the right vendors for that reason, they are so important. They are a huge, huge part of your day. an MC as well, I would say spend some time thinking, making sure you've got a good MC, because
Makes
we
such a
had
difference.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, and we've been to some weddings where they've just sort of, got Joe Brown or whatever, and it does make a difference. We had Ben's best friend, and he was actually a groomsman and an MC, and that worked really well for us. It was a bit unusual to have him as both, but he worked with the vendors. He did such a good job. People talk about our wedding, they talk about the weather, they talk about the food, and they talk about Tyler, the MC. So, yeah, that is another thing that I would say is quite important to help your day run smoothly. And yeah, just enjoy it. Don't let it stress you out. It shouldn't be stressful. Like, yeah, of course, it's stressful. It's one of the biggest days of your life. But if you are feeling stressed, like, delegate. It's the most exciting time ever. So hopefully you can just enjoy it and relish in it, and don't get pregnant. No, but if you do, it was the best thing ever. I'm definitely like not the first and will not be the last. And some people plan it that way, and like it didn't actually really affect anything, and it did make our day so much more special. But it was just on top of the normal stresses of planning a wedding. It was just a wee bit of an extra stress that we probably didn't need.
Yeah, busy time for you,
Yes, yeah.
and really cool that you could announce it at the wedding as well, though.
Oh,
I feel
yeah.
like
I
that's
wouldn't
so
change it.
special.
So
Yeah.
special. And it'll be so cool one day we'll be able to show her photos of
Yes.
when she was in our belly, and we've got this video of like announcing it to everyone. And yeah, very, very, very cool, very special moment.
And what is married life like now? You've obviously your little girl's here, and yeah, do you feel like you had any post-wedding blues after the wedding?
I guess probably because we were pregnant, I did sort of just focus on the wedding. So once the wedding was over, it was just full baby, and probably because of that, I didn't actually really have any wedding blues. Was able to just shift my focus to somewhere else. But yeah, she arrived. We got married in March, and she arrived in July. So yeah, married life. We just enjoyed it being just us two for the short few months that it was, and we'd just moved into a new house a month before we got married as well. So we were just, yeah, married life's amazing. Nothing changes, but everything changes at the same time. Like, we're just in essentially the beginning. It was like the beginning of the rest of our lives. You're married to your best friend. You get to say my husband rather than my boyfriend. But yeah, we've had a very busy, hectic first year of marriage, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So yeah, no, it's very cool.
So special. Love that. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today. And
That's
yeah,
okay.
so grateful for you sharing your story. And I think, yeah, this is going to help a lot of people. Is there anything we missed or you want to add before we wrap up?
No, not really. Hopefully, like, it's a positive story. You hear a lot of negative stories that go along with weddings, but I can't fault our day and our lead up. And hopefully, this just makes someone very excited for what's to come. Like I said before, you're engaged. Lap it up. Everyone's so excited for you. Enjoy the attention. Show your ring off. Don't be embarrassed if you want to get married down at the courthouse. Get married down at the courthouse. If you want to spend $1 million, spend $1 million. Like, this is your time, and you're about to start the most exciting times of your life. So yeah, just enjoy it. It's so cool. It's so fun. You're about to have, yeah, the best day ever.
Oh, so good. Love that. We'll definitely share some of your photos as well. I feel like from what I've seen, it just, you can see the joy in them and how cool of a
Yeah.
day it was. Yay.
No,
Thank you
cool.
so
Thank you so
much.
much. Yes, thank you. I'm so excited. So chuffed to be able to speak to you. And yeah, it's been very special. It's so cool to relive it all again.